Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About Clutter. I'm your host, Margo, a professional organizer specializing in chronic clutter. And today we're going to be talking about 8 simple decluttering tips to get you started. So if you are somebody that struggles with decluttering paralysis, if you are someone who doesn't know where to start because maybe you're overwhelmed by the sheer amount of clutter in your home, or maybe you are somebody who tried decluttering but didn't feel that it was working, or maybe you gave up again because of the decision fatigue and the paralysis and the feelings of overwhelm, or maybe you're simply somebody who is restarting decluttering all over again and you want to start easy. And there are 8 simple decluttering ways that you can begin that are low stress, low overwhelm, and not only set you up for success, but also set you up for seeing progress right away, which is what we all want, right? That surge of positive reinforcement where you decluttered and now you can actually feel it, you can actually see it, right? And that will then motivate you to continue. So let's jump right into tip number 1. And tip number 1 is to simply start small. One of the biggest mistakes that I see as a decluttering coach is that we take on more than we have time to do, right? It's like if you ever make New Year's resolutions and you're like, starting January 1st, I'm going to work out, I'm going to get a gym membership, I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week. And yeah, maybe that first week you go 5 days, and then the second week you go 2, and then the third week the weather's crap and you're like, I'm just not going to go. And eventually you stop going altogether. So we want to avoid that. And it's better, the most important thing when it comes to decluttering is consistency, right? And commitment. So it's less about how much you declutter and more that you declutter on a weekly, and for some of you, maybe on a daily basis. So you want to start small. You want to begin with just one drawer, one shelf, or maybe a handful of products. You don't have to tackle your whole home at once. You do not have to tackle an entire room. You don't have to go and be like, I'm doing an entire kitchen over the weekend. That is bananas. I mean, listen, if you want to go atomic, by all means, turn on some hype music, have a friend over and go at it. But if you really kind of want to build that consistency and commitment to a tidy home, then you do not have to start big. And I've seen this again and again, this success with many of my one-on-one clients. So start small. Starting small builds momentum and helps avoid overwhelm. It's always, and I do mean always, progress over perfection. So what can starting small look like? So yes, it could be a drawer. So instead of saying I'm going to declutter an entire kitchen, you say I'm going to declutter this one utensil drawer. Or if you're working on the cabinets, you could say I'm going to declutter one shelf. Or you can declutter, one shelf in your refrigerator, or maybe just the freezer, right? Or maybe a handful of items in your pantry. So that is what we mean by start small. Another thing that I find to be incredibly effective, especially if you're somebody who's in that decluttering paralysis phase where it's like, you want to declutter, but you just can't bring yourself to do it because every time you do, you kind of you feel like you can't breathe. Like it's so much, right? We've all been there at some point. So what you can do to start small is you can simply do one item a day. Now, yes, you're not necessarily going to see the same progress as if you're, let's say, doing a drawer from start to finish, right? Because there's always that very clear before and after. One item a day of rando items around your house. This could be something on a shelf, something on a coffee table, something in your bathroom, a piece of clothing. It's really not specific to any space. If you'd like to make it specific, that's totally fine. Like if you decide, you know what, Margo, I'm going to do one item a day in my bedroom, or I'm going to do one item a day in my bathroom, then that is fantastic. You can also just generalize it to the rest of your home. You can also do 1 to 5 items a day, right? I mean, who says you just have to do one? You could do Monday, maybe you do 1, Tuesday, maybe you do 2, Wednesday, maybe you do 3, Thursday, maybe you do 4, Friday, 5, and then 6, my God. Saturday, you can then go down, right? So maybe Saturday is like 4 and Sunday is 3, or you could just keep it at once. Whatever you're comfortable with. There is no clear-cut formula. I think the most important thing here, and the most important thing for you if you want to achieve a tidy tidy, clutter-free home is to begin. And the best way to begin is to combat feelings of overwhelm. And starting small really helps you do that. Tip number 2, fall in love with the 1 in, 1 out rule. Now, when you do the 1 in, 1 out rule, obviously you're maintaining what you currently have in the home, but you're not necessarily adding to it. I mean, full transparency, when I'm working with folks during the time that, whether it's a month or 3 months or 6 months, while we're working together, especially if the home has a lot of clutter, we have a no buy rule. So what that means is you obviously buy your needs, right? Whatever your needs are. And there's a big difference between needs and wants. And I could do an entire podcast on the difference between needs and wants for a home. But when I'm working with a client and you're doing that full purge, you want to spend that time commitment, right? When you're doing the massive decluttering, because decluttering happens in multiple phases, and then we move into the maintenance phase, and this is how you upkeep it. But in general, you want to not bring items in. So in order to kind of maintain, right, the 1 in, 1 out rule is absolutely fantastic. So for example, you bought a new dress, get rid of an older dress. You bought a pair of pants, get rid of an old pair of pants. You bought maybe 2 brand new towels, get rid of the other 2 towels. Obviously, unless you're buying them because you're having guests over, then that's different. But what I'm saying is for your own purposes. So 1 in, 1 out rule. Every time you bring in an item, you declutter a similar item, if not the same. Tip number 3, and I absolutely love this, and it is the 10 to 15 minute rule. So you're going to set a timer for just 10 to 15 minutes, whatever you feel comfortable with. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. And you're going to declutter for that time. So it could be your desk, your kitchen counter, your bedside table. Short bursts of decluttering are manageable and incredibly effective. And a great hack is to part with the larger items first. This will give you the biggest wow factor. So eliminate the blender, the extra chair, the rug, the old mirror, the painting, the coffee table. I got rid of my coffee table a long time ago, and I've never had one, and I'm so grateful for it because I'm somebody who absolutely despises surface clutter. Moving on to tip number 4, and you can, if you're somebody who struggles, like, how do I even make the decision? What do I keep? What do I have to let go of? Maybe you suffer from the just in case fallacy, which is very common. What if I need it in the future? You're afraid of making a mistake, letting go of something that you might potentially need. A great way to overcome those feelings of overwhelm is to begin by tackling duplicates. So something that you have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of. Now, I don't mean, duplicates in the sense that you need, for example, if you need to have 2 or 3 of something, then that's perfectly fine. I mean, like, do you need 2 spatulas? Do you need an abundance of, let's say, coffee mugs or water bottles or towels or linens or shower curtains, whatever it may be, right? We're talking about those things. Keep your favorites depending on what it is, if you need to keep a buffer or extra. So I get this question a lot because folks are like, how many towels do I need? So you need a towel for each member of the family. Some people are comfortable keeping an extra set. So if you have 4 people in the house, you'll rotate. So basically you'll have your 4 towels and then you do the laundry and you take out the other 4 towels and you kind of switch, right? You kind of keep swapping them. Or you can kind of keep the 4 towels and then you have an extra 4, right? And then for all of you who possibly has guests over, then you can leave an extra few for guests as well. For me personally, I just have 1 set. And when that set is no longer good, then I get rid of it. So it's me and my daughter. So we have 2 towels and then I have 2 extra towels just in case I have people come over. All right. Another thing that you could do, which is more what I call passive decluttering. It's not really active decluttering, but it's still incredibly effective. And for all of you who are super stressed and overwhelmed and are just having a really hard time beginning and making those decisions and understanding where you can start. By the way, if you're somebody that struggles and you're like, where do I start, Margo? I don't know what room to pick. I have an incredible on-demand masterclass. It's 60 minutes. It comes with an amazing workbook, and it literally helps you create a decluttering plan. So it walks you through where you should start, how often you should declutter, right? And helps you create that schedule for you. And again, it's very low stress, low overwhelm. It's called How to Create a Decluttering Plan. And I will leave a link to it in the show notes. Okay, moving on to tip number 5. And that is, this is a passive way to declutter, and it is to create a donation box. So you want to keep a designated donation box in a room, right? Or maybe by your entryway or wherever you feel comfortable. As you come across an item you no longer use or need, toss it in the box. Once it's full, you can drop it off at a local charity or donation center. You can also do this for trashed items. So if you're somebody that doesn't want to donate, or maybe it's a mix and match, or maybe you don't really have centers available in the area or pickup services, you can still kind of you can have a decluttering box. So you'll have that one box. Please do not have a box in every room, because then we're just pretty much relocating clutter. Have just one box, just one box, one bin. And what happens is you keep putting items in there. Once the box or the bin gets full, then you let it go and then you continue the process. This works very, very well hand in hand if you're to do the 1 item a day or the 1 to 5 items a day. All right, tip number 6, if you are somebody that has especially decluttered in the past and kind of felt unmotivated because you are not seeing progress, here's my biggest advice for you. If you want to see progress, you want to focus on surface clutter first. Surface clutter makes our spaces appear more messy than they actually are. So surface clutter simply means stuff on your coffee table, stuff on your dining room table or your kitchen table, stuff on your kitchen counter, stuff on your sink in the bathroom, stuff on your dresser, your nightstand, shelves. Having too much stuff there, especially if it's not organized properly and not contained properly very, very often, makes your home appear more cluttered. Like, have you ever had that moment where you're cleaning your kitchen counter and you take everything off and you wipe it down and you're like, oh my God, this looks so beautiful. Like, you can even breathe better in your kitchen space. It's the same concept, right? Aesthetically, the less stuff you have on surfaces, the more tidy your home appears. If you want to have nothing on your surfaces, that's like even better. But again, this is going to give you that dopamine hit where you're like, oh my God, this feels so good. It looks so good. I want to keep going. So you can always begin with your surfaces. Tip number 7, and this is just a general overall tip. And again, this is a formula that I teach, or rather the perspective that I teach from. And it is, instead of being kind of sporadic all over your house, it's to choose a room that you're dedicated to. So you're still applying the same techniques, right? So like you're doing the 1 item a day, or you're doing the 10 to 15 minute increments, or you're just choosing a drawer or shelf or a handful of products or whatnot. But stick to one room. Go one room at a time from the beginning to completion, because this is how you maximize seeing results. I know that it can be incredibly tempting to like do what I call sporadic decluttering. And again, you do a little bit in the kitchen, then a little bit in the bathroom, a little bit in the bedroom, the garage, blah, 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 blah. The problem is, yes, you're investing a lot of time, but it's spread over your entire space. So you are not maximizing the results that you feel. And I want you to feel it. I want you to experience all the wonderful benefits, your physical health, your mental health, right, from a space that is tidy and eventually well organized. So again, there are different methods to decluttering. I prefer, and what I've seen work again and again and again, both for myself and all of my clients, is you choose one room and you literally declutter a little bit at a time until you are done, and then you move on to the next room. This is also part of the decluttering plan masterclass I have, and kind of the perspective from which I teach it, because that is where you begin to feel the benefits and truly enjoy the benefits of a tidy space. And finally, tip number 8, which is probably the most important tip, and empirical data and research really backs this up, and it is to invest in an accountability partner. Now, yes, an accountability partner can be a coach like me. It could also be a friend or a parent or, another family member. Having someone to check in with or work alongside can make the process more fun and keep you motivated. There is so much research out there, and this is why personal trainers or life coaches or decluttering coaches are so effective. Your chances of successfully achieving your goal, in which case this is probably, having a tidy space, go up by 93% if you have an accountability partner, right? If you have to literally on a week by week, day by day, however you want to set it up, checking in with somebody, this is my progress. these are my hurdles, right? And when I say accountability partner, whether you go with a coach or a friend or whatnot, you want to choose somebody who's very positive, right? You don't want to have your accountability partner be passive aggressive or be negative or have negative energy. I know sometimes folks mean well, but they're not really what we're looking for. So I really encourage you to choose somebody that comes with positive, supportive energy and really wants to see you improve your home and your life. If they're also on the same journey, fantastic, right? If you both can be accountability partners for each other, that's even better. Or like I said, you can always hire me as a decluttering coach. And there you have it. Hopefully 8 simple, easy ways for you to overcome feelings of overwhelm and paralysis and start decluttering your home. Thank you so much for listening. As always, good luck on your decluttering journey, and remember to be good to yourself.